Good afternoon. My name is Susan Vance. I belong to an organization called SNAP, Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests. If you'd like to know more about our work with clergy abuse victims and actually all victims of sexual assault, please go to snapnetwork.org. These people behind me are standing with me today in an effort to do something we feel is critically important. Some of us belong to organizations, and some of us are laity in the faith in the church, and some of us have no affiliation. But we do recognize something very important, and that is that Bishop Richard Stika of the Diocese of Knoxville must resign, or he must be removed by the powers in the church that can do so. We demand the resignation of Bishop Stika. Before this is over, you are going to understand why we are doing so. Many people out there will be shaking their head, saying, "Oh, he is a wonderful man." Listen to what we have to say, because we have endured as survivors of clergy abuse, as members of parishes. We have survived Bishop Stika for, I think, about 13 and a half years, since 2009. And it is no small thing that brings us here today to tell you he must go. It's time. The first person I want to speak today is Michael Coode. Mike is from Nashville, Tennessee, and he is a survivor of clergy sex abuse. Michael, Ann Brentwood, David Brown, and I have stood on street corners for years. Michael longer than I, but I have been out there for 20 years doing this, trying to let people know that clergy sex abuse is a grave, grave error. It's a grave crime in our church, and we must stop it immediately. I want Mike to step up and address you, and I know that you will find his words very gratifying. Michael?
So, good afternoon. My name is Mike Coode. I've been a member of SNAP, which is the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, for over 30 years. I am a survivor. As an adolescent, I was abused by two priests, and the abuse continued over several years. I have struggled with this throughout my life. Through my struggles, I have assumed the goal of seeing that not one other child or vulnerable adult is abused. Sadly, the biggest obstacle to ending the abuse is the hierarchy of the Catholic Church. For years, I've asked bishops everywhere to become proactive and put a stop to this terrible scourge. For years, I've been ignored. The hierarchy of the Catholic Church in Knoxville is no exception. They have either participated in abusing, and they have allowed abuses to continue. My cousin, Monsignor Xavier Mankel, was no exception. Monsignor Mankel held many positions of authority for years in the Diocese of Knoxville. I have pleaded with him countless times to enter this cover-up and see that it never happened again. I was not surprised when Monsignor Mankel and the Diocese of Knoxville were named in the recent lawsuit. Monsignor Mankel is deceased, but the co-conspirator, Bishop Richard Stika, continues this saga. Bishop Stika is a sad example, and he has demoralized the faithful of the diocese, and he has demoralized his priests. Numerous priests of the diocese have been disillusioned and scandalized by his actions, have asked that he resign. We ask the same today. I stand here today in solidarity with the victims of abuse by priests of the Diocese of Knoxville. I have worked with many of them, and I have seen them struggle, leading sad lives. I have seen men whose lives have been taken long before their time, and I have seen suicides. My heart goes out to them, and I'm so proud of their courage and And would urge anybody who knows of abuse to come forward. We're here to help you. Thank you.
I want to thank Mike. Every time he speaks, the wounds open up again. That is true with all clergy sex abuse victims. The next speaker is Jeff Garrettson from Nashville. As you see, we've got people coming in from all over to speak to you. Jeff has founded a new organization called Keep on Surviving. And I want Jeff to come up and say a few words. Thank you.
Hello and good afternoon. I'm here not as a Catholic, although I know many Catholics. I'm not here as a survivor, although I know and love very many survivors. I got on this as someone that is concerned for the community. I was born and raised, grew up in the area over which Bishop Stika currently presides. And churches, schools, these are places where people should feel protected, should feel safe, should be able to grow in their faith and learn without having to worry about predators in their midst. Bishop Stika has not presided over a safe environment. He has invited multiple predators into these churches despite the concerns of other priests, other people within the church. He has made those choices. On August 16th, 2018, Bishop Stika himself said in a homily at the cathedral that if someone is covering up sexual abuse within the church, up to and including the Pope, they should resign immediately. Bishop Stika, if you see this, and we have every reason to believe that you do see these things, we ask you to practice what you preach and to resign immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. The next speaker is Chris O'Leary from St. Louis, Missouri. As you know, Bishop Stika and Cardinal Regali hail from the same area. So Chris has some insights that are very important. He is also a survivor, which he will discuss with you. And I think that the more you hear the pain of our survivors, it makes a difference. Chris.
Thank you. Anyone who was involved with a cover-up should resign, even if that is the Pope himself. That clear, unambiguous, authoritative, and responsible standard is the one that we're asking Bishop Stika to live up to today. My name is Chris O'Leary. I'm a survivor of the Catholic sex abuse crisis. In the late 70s, early 80s, I was sexually abused, exploited by a priest named Father Leroy Valentine. Abuse that was witnessed at least in part by my friend the Cardinal, who's now a Cardinal of the Catholic Church, a potential future Pope, a potential first American Pope. He saw, at least in part, knew of my and our sexual abuse Valentine at the Church of the Immaculata in St. Louis and did nothing to stop it. Nothing changed during the 2 years that he overlapped with my abuser, Father Leroy Valentine. If you know the movie Spotlight, if you've seen the movie Spotlight and if you haven't, you should. My story is basically the sequel to the movie Spotlight. Where the movie Spotlight leaves off, my story picks up or resumes. Why am I here in Knoxville for the 4th time this year? Why do I keep coming back here? Because 45 years later in my case, 70 years later in Mike Coade's case, 20 years later in the case of Spotlight and the Dallas Charter, 3 years later in the terms of the Pennsylvania Grand Jury report, nothing has changed. And Bishop Stika, Bishop Rick Stika of the Diocese of Knoxville is emblematic, is symptomatic of that problem. Too much of what the Catholic Church says and does is just empty talk. The Dallas Charter, by and large, Bishop Stika gives the lie to the Dallas Charter. Vos Estis Lux Mundi, Pope Francis, Bill of Rights for Survivors, Code of Conduct for Bishops was a sham. We are here because of the problems with how the Catholic Church is conducting itself in terms of the Catholic sex abuse crisis and the enabling by other organizations, including law enforcement. My own case involves and implicates the former Attorney General of the state of Missouri, now Senator Josh Hawley, the current Attorney General of the state of Missouri, now Senate candidate and likely Senator Eric Schmidt. That's a problem. That is the problem, that so little has changed in the Catholic Church in terms of the enabling of the Catholic Church, the continuing cover-up of the sexual abuse of children. All of which means exactly what my sign says: Catholic children remain in danger. That's the problem that I and we are trying to make. That's the problem we're trying to solve. That's the point we're trying to get across. Catholic children remain in danger because of people like Bishop Rick Stika. I refuse to allow what happened to me to happen to anyone else. I'll be damned if I allow what happened to me to happen to anyone else. So I am going to speak out against what Bishop Rick Stika is doing. One of the greatest fears that a survivor can have, I'm sure my Coode can attest to this, is the sense that it's happening again. Well, that's the sense that I get in St. Louis, and it's the sense I get in Knoxville. That's why I'm here for the 4th time this year. That's why I'm speaking out against Bishop Rick Stika. Is it going to happen again? I'm not going to allow that to happen. And as a survivor, I want to say to the people here, who are gathered around me, thank you for standing up for children, for standing up against abuse. You're doing the right thing. You're doing the Christian thing. The people who've written the letters, the people who've signed the letters, the priests especially. I get the question from my mom, are there any good priests left in the Catholic Church? I can tell her, yes, there are good priests left in the Catholic Church in the Diocese of Knoxville, because I know they are going through hell. They are being put through hell by Bishop Rick Stika in trying to fight against the abuse, fight against the problems that the people in Knoxville are facing. Bishop Rick Stika will put forth a narrative that he is a friend of survivors. I know for a fact that Bishop Rick Stika is not a friend of survivors. Bishop Rick Stika is no friend of survivors, as I know as a survivor. I went to Bishop Rick Stika for help in the summer of 2018, for getting help from the Archdiocese of St. Louis. I asked him if he could ask the Archdiocese of St. Louis to call off the dogs, to end the smear campaign that the Archdiocese of St. Louis was conducting. All I got was gaslighting, manipulation, lies, what I call the abuse of the abused. Bishop Rick Stika abused me psychologically as he has abused other people. I know exactly what people are talking about because I experienced it personally, which is why I'm here in Knoxville for a 4th time this year. And then in 2020, in August, Bishop Rick Stika actually happened to be up in St. Louis. I again went to him for help, explaining how the Archdiocese of St. Louis was in violation of Vos Estis Lux Mundi, how it wasn't following the Pope's promise of helping survivors. Bishop Rick Stika told me, no, that's not right. There's no way that can be true. Bishop Rick Stika called me a liar to my face in August 2020 on the steps of the Cathedral Basilica in front of some other people who can actually attest to that. In 2022, he's actually offered to meet with me, and then he retracted that offer and blocked me on Facebook. Again, the standard is anyone who was involved with the cover-up should resign, even if that is the Pope himself. So what evidence is there of a cover-up being perpetrated by Bishop Rick Stika and others in the Diocese of Knoxville? First and foremost, there's the note from the seminarian Wojciech Subczek, dated 2019, Valentine's Day, February 14th. Quote, and I'm getting this from the lawsuit, from the filing of the lawsuit, "And for what was wrong, I apologize with all my heart." That's it right there. That's case closed right there. That's the admission of guilt, the admission that it happened. But that's not enough. That's where things start to get twisted. That's where Bishop Rick Stika gets involved. There's the missile that Bishop Rick Stika gave John Doe, the person who was raped, with a message saying, quote, stay always to God, a clear act of intimidation by Bishopric Stika in a note dated February 7th, 2019. A tactic straight out of the movie Spotlight. Again, if you haven't seen the movie Spotlight, watch it. It's very good, it's very important, and it will help you understand what's going on. There are other quotes that can be pulled out of the lawsuit. Stika told Doe that it would probably be best if Subcheck and Doe communicated through Snapshot. That's an attempt to conceal communications, to hide information from the public, to take things from texting to Snapchat where messages disappear. That's a clear evidence of a cover-up. You've also got allegations made in the video, or in the lawsuit, of the diocese removing YouTube videos and podcasts. Quote, Subcheck claimed that Cardinal Zibich connected him with Stika. That statement and the podcast in which it was contained was removed. That's a cover-up. That's a cover-up to hide the involvement of Bishopric Stika. You've got other evidence of a cover-up coming in Pillar Catholic, J.D. Flynn's articles, the church militant Christine Niles' communication. As J.D. Flynn reported in Pillar Catholic, an instance of Darvo, which is a very common tactic of abusers: deny, attack, reverse the victim and offender, running a smear campaign against the victim. Quote, Doe raped Wojciech. That is Darvo. That's reversing the victim and offender. That is an attempt to cover up a crime perpetrated by Wojciech Subcheck, covered up by Bishopric Stika. Other quotes from Pillar Catholic. In April 2021, Stika repeated the claim to the Pillar. The bishop said that Subcheck, the seminarian, was sexually attacked by Doe rather than the other way around. Bishop Stika has made statements to the press as part of this Darvo effort, trying to throw the press off of the case of John Doe. Other evidence presented by Pillar Catholic, replacing the investigator. Bishopric Stika fired the investigator for, quote, asking all these questions. The second investigator, the one who replaced the one who was fired, interviewed only Subcheck, which I can relate to. That happened in my case, actually. The Archdiocese of St. Louis talked to my abuser. He said he didn't do it, so they believed him. From the Pillar, quote, a Knoxville priest told the Pillar he believes that Stika has impeded or restricted investigations into the seminarian's misconduct. Close quote. Thank you, priests. Thank you for stepping up, for doing the right thing, for doing the Christian thing. Too much of what's going on is very Catholic, but it's not very Christian. This is the Diocese of Bishopric Stika, which is Catholic but not Christian. It encourages me to no end to see the people here trying to pull the Diocese of Knoxville back to the way of Christ, and it encourages me to no end to see the priests of the Diocese of Knoxville trying to pull the church back to the way of Christ, unlike Bishopric Stika. Quote, one priest in the diocese was threatened in April with canonical penalties after he raised concerns about the 2019 allegation against the seminary, and several diocesan priests told the Pillar, thank you, J.D. Flynn, thank you, the press, for putting forth this information explaining the misdeeds of Bishopric Stika. Then you've got the lawsuit. The pseudonym is being fought by the Diocese of Knoxville, by Bishopric Stika. The opposition, the fighting to name the plaintiff is intimidation, a violation of diocesan policy. Quote, the privacy of a victim shall be honored, the right of a victim to maintain policy shall be guarded. Close quote. So much for policy. These are empty words. Unfortunately, this resonates with me in terms of Pope Francis. Vos estis lux mundi, a lot of talk. I'm from the show me state. Show me. I know that talk is cheap. Bishop Stika is not living up to the show me ethos of Missouri. He's an embarrassment to the state of Missouri. Documents, you've got the protective order, very much like Spotlight. The Catholic Church thinks it's above the law, a policy that, thank God, the judge in the case rejected, an argument that the judge in the case rejected. Thank you, Judge, for rejecting the argument that the Catholic Church is above the law. But an argument that is still also being made in New York by Cardinal Dolan, even though that argument has been contradicted immediately by Pope Francis in terms of the rescript, essentially where the Pope Francis in the hierarchy of the Catholic Church has said, we're not going to claim privilege on this stuff. Bishop Stika has acted contrary to Pope Francis. In terms of the cover-up, most recently, you've got statements by Stika to priests and lay people to the effect of Susan Vance made it all up. And that really pisses me off. I know Susan Vance. I know that she's a person of integrity. For anyone, especially Bishop Rick Stika, who I know of and who has gaslighted me, to impugn the character of Susan Vance, that pisses me off. And again, statements. And she fed it to the pillar and created the whole situation. I do not believe that statement. I believe in Susan Vance. I believe in Susan Vance far more than I believe in Bishop Rick Stika. Again, because I have personal involvement with Bishop Rick Stika. That's why I'm here, beyond Bishop Rick Stika's psychological abuse of me. Again, there are more problematic behaviors. There's his, when I was a parent, I used to claim special powers. That was just to get my kids to do what they want to do. Bishop Rick Stika has claimed to possess special powers. He, quote, knew in his heart that the seminarian is absolutely innocent. I'm sorry, but that's an idea of 20 years ago, of 45 years ago, of 70 years ago. This idea of knowing in your heart whether someone is guilty or innocent, that's further evidence that nothing has changed in the Catholic Church. Bishop Rick Stika, quote, I know he is innocent. No, I'm sorry, Bishop Rick Stika, you cannot know whether he's innocent. You should trust your investigators, and rather than replacing them, you should trust them to come to the conclusion to ask the questions that are necessary. This is even more personal for me because not only is Bishop Rick Stika from St. Louis, but the seminarian is now in St. Louis. He's being hidden in St. Louis, putting the gay community, the SLUT community, the St. Louis community at risk. You can verify this through the St. Louis University website, the People Finder. Just search for WOJ. You'll find results, one of which is the seminarian Wojciech Sobczak. That is an incredibly difficult thing for me to understand, that the seminarian, an accused rapist, a multi-accused abuser, lives just a few miles just on the other side of Forest Park from me. That's incredible. And what's also incredible is the collusion and collaboration between the Archdiocese of St. Louis and the Diocese of Knoxville. This is an old school shuffle, as from the bad old days, from 45 years ago, from 70 years ago. What exactly has changed, especially since, near as I can tell, based on statements coming out of Pillar Catholic, the seminarian Wojciech Sobczak remains on the path to ordination. Quote, the seminarian is eligible to reapply to the diocese in 2 years, Stika said, close quote. So what exactly has changed in 20 years since Spotlight, in 45 years since my abuse, in 70 years since my Code's abuse? What exactly has changed? Where's the zero tolerance? Where's the accountability? I don't see it. Instead, I see the Dallas Charter, which is full of the dirty little secret, which gives the lie to the dirty little secret. Knoxville gives the lie to the dirty little secret of the Dallas Charter, which is that bishops are the sole authority in terms of determining the innocence or guilt of seminarians. Yes, there are all these rules and these policies and procedures, lots of tests, but they only apply in certain cases. They don't apply in the case of seminarians. As Bishop Rick Stika of the Diocese of Knoxville proved, kids, per the Dallas Charter, are being protected from their grandparents, but they're not being protected from seminarians like Wojciech Sobczak. The rules only apply if the bishops say they do. Still, now, 45 years later, 20 years later, 70 years later. Are there any good priests? Yes, and those priests are terrified of their bishops, of Bishop Rick Stika. As society should be terrified of Bishop Rick Stika and the hierarchy of the Catholic Church, who are making First Amendment claims that they are above the law, that the seal of confession just wipes clean and helps them conceal everything that they've done in terms of abuse. Again, the standard, which is not my standard, it instead is the standard set by Bishop Rick Stika himself on August 26, 2018. Quote, anyone who was involved with the cover-up should resign, even if that is the Pope himself, for we need cleansing and purification in our church.